would like. So with them getting a late game carry, TSM's really going to have to structure just as well as they did last time, because there's going to be more force coming from Chronologic Gaming.
And we've made a couple jokes that if there were 7 items in the game, every CLG game would extend by 5 minutes, because they'd have to wait until Doublelift has all of them and then go.
Right.
So knowing if Doublelift learned that the 6-item Urgot build was completely outclassed, he's much less likely to go for that. And along the lines of Wild Turtle not necessarily being the carry, in both of the previous matchups, Reginald has had very strong games on Karthus. So with that first pick, you can see CLG had to get rid of it right away.
Quickly going out, back and forth. Sona was used last time as well. We saw the support coming in for a special. We did see Dyrus, as you can remember him so vividly, trying to guard the Nexus. He played Kennen in that matchup.
Close.
So we may see a Kennen coming out here on either side. Rise is something that Reginald was talking about as well in the turmoil of what picks they've kind of wanted through past games. So with the bans of Jace and Shen coming out, it's pretty much just a bit of respect being given to the lanes until they figure out what cards can be shown here.
And the thing I really want to see is Twisted Fate, because Link is a very good Twisted Fate player, maybe the most respected TF in North America, whereas Reginald's Twisted Fate is questioned by a lot of people. Normally, if you're purple team here or red side, you need to ban the Twisted Fate to stop from first pick. But in this situation, CLG might want Reginald to play it, and they want to leave it up in case Reginald's not willing to.
Yeah, Link grabbed his MVP week off of that Twisted Fate player you were just talking about, the triple kill he had in his recent games. Yeah, impact player for him, and it looks like they are kind of wavering on trying to focus that out. Nunu comes, that Twisted Fate is alive.
And when we think to the total amount of bans, the Nunu had to be a ban.
They said yeah.
And Reggie's, he's in. He's accepted the challenge. He's going to lock the gold card.
Hopefully. He's locked in TF. We'll see if we can go to the gold card situation next. Nian and Big Fat now to lock themselves in.
Yeah, where are they going to go?
Heimerdinger, bam.
Yeah, that's
locked it in.
Clearly, that's the one. I think this is a solid pick. I actually really like the Pantheon that Big Fat OP brought out. They'd been playing it in scrims for such a long time, and I know Skara even tweeted about it. He was like, thank God CLG finally brought up the Pantheon. I want to see how it works in a real LCS game. And I thought, actually, that if he could have somehow not gotten so many kills, it would have just taken over the game. But because so much of the gold flow went into Pantheon, and he's not a great scaler into the late game, it was counteractive to CLG's strategy. But as a low-farm jungler for CLG, it worked great. But, you know, it's a one-time thing for them, I guess.
Chouster feeling a bit better on that Thresh play. They grab him up, and Big Fat, he's been loving that Nocturne play. It allows him to be everywhere, and he builds that tanky Nocturne. So he's just kind of a beating bag for the fight. Yeah,
and at least in this situation, he doesn't have any auto-crit mechanics when the enemy's low, so he won't be taking as many kills as he was when he was playing the Jungle Pantheon. The Thresh for Chouster, he had those great Baron back-and-forth plays in the last game, but it's still a questionable champion for him. We know Chouster is an amazing Janna. He plays the older supports fantastically because that's the stuff he was playing in Season 2 when he was considered the best support. But now with Season 3, his Thresh is still something he's working on, and he openly admits that.
We'll have to see what they can pull out. The Lulu Caitlyn for safe lane coming in. A little bit of poke there coming from TeamSoloMid. No sustain to that lane, so we'll have to see how much damage Doublelift is actually willing to throw into this lane. That Draven is still in. And I really like how X Special is going with Lulu here, because Lulu has not been seeing that much play lately. It's generally a trifecta now of Thresh, Nami, and Sona that we've been seeing, and substantially less Lulu. But for TSM, with the way Dyrus likes to be able to fly into fights with Reginald, those Lulu ults are so clutch, and it's potentially going to catch CLG a little bit off guard because they haven't been playing against it nearly as much lately. It's like an inverted Janna. The ult stays in, doesn't blow everybody out. Yeah, you keep people around. You pop them up, and then you stay there. You get your shield, you get your slow. It works out quite well. Could see the Trist coming in here. We talked a little bit about Draven being one of those champions that Doublelift talked about. Trist was also one of those as well that he pushed to the side for quite some time. Not picking it up as we speak about it. But yeah, it goes for the Ezreal and the Orianna pickup. And when CLG had been playing Tristana, they were using it exclusively as a super late game split pusher. But you got to recognize here, against a Twisted Fate, that split pushing would become much more dangerous. So the Ezreal is a potentially safer pick. It's a more instantaneous jump away, whereas Tristana's is... I know a lot of people have been knocked out of or stunned out of Rocket Jump multiple times in the past. So Doublelift, his all-star Pentakill was on Ezreal. He knows how to play the champion. It's a safe laner that can go against Caitlyn and still farm up if they go into that lane situation. So it's a CLG pick I like. TSM had that game yesterday. They did not like. Kobe said it. You said it. The Bash Brothers, the old wheelhouse strategy that TSM brings out. That we can stand in front of your turret if we want for a good 10 seconds and then kill you, kind of thing.
And I like these compositions for TSM because they have a very balanced approach to team fights. The mecha of power that Nasus and Renekton have, just moving through and around them, it's very difficult for any team to go through. So we'll see now what Link tries to go, because you almost want to bypass Nasus and Renekton, because you're not going to win clashy, just brawly, slow team fights against them. You need to be able to go past them quickly and get to the backline.
I like this. Neon picking up Aurelia for the top lane here. And you speak about getting past. The Orianna pickup's going to be pretty helpful for stopping any of the turret dives that will come into the late game. So CLG will have their late game stall at the turrets if they need it. They have that team to thwart off really any engagements and put TSM on that pause.
Haven't seen much Aurelia here in Season 3, and I don't know in the summer split if we've seen it in North America yet. That'll be something for Stat Guy to pull up. But either way, I love the combination of Aurelia and Nocturne. It's like a throwback to the old dive buddies we used to see. They will be going in together. They'll still have the Orianna ball to help them in. Maybe they can even get threshed in and pull in a triple dive at some point. But for the most part, it's dive, Orianna's a great midliner, and Doublelift can just sit back and try to be that carry.
Do you think we're going to see lane swap coming in here? Neither of the lanes sustain. You kind of just have the pokes. TSM likes to go for the fast turret, so we expect them to always go for the 2v1.
Yeah, TSM most likely will go for the 2v1. But we've seen a surprising number of 2v2 lanes revert on this 3.8 patch. Even though teams can take the double golems, it's not as beneficial as it was before, because there's a little bit more risk involved, and they also hurt their jungle pull a bit more substantially. I think the main thing about this game, like usual TSM games, but specifically because he's on Twisted Fate, is how much he can take control of the game in the mid-game, and how the race between where Reginald goes with Twisted Fate and Big Fat OP goes with Nocturne plays out.
So that almost spells that the 2v1 would work. With that, you get the pressure of the jungle to the top and the bottom lane, and that would leave your Reginald to kind of just farm it up in mid. Not have to worry about getting pressured.
And in the last TSM CLG game, I was actually watching Game Cribs earlier. They were talking about the miscommunication that happened with them every time a Nocturne ult was used. Like that one time Reggie was in the base as Karthus, everyone got Nocturne ult and he was in there alone. The same thing can happen again here, specifically if Reginald ults on Twisted Fate, and then Big Fat OP ults on Nocturne. Reggie can't see where he's going, which is a very dangerous thing on TF.
All right, we are in and on to the Rift. TeamSoloMid versus Counter Logic Gaming. I'm sure everybody remembers what happened at MLG here with TeamSoloMid getting their base taken down by minions from CLG on the base race. So we will have to see what goes down. Nien does not get Elise this time. We know he all named himself Spider-Man pretty much after that game and was really the game changer, turning things around with huge impact plays and a nice chunk of damage.
Are you allowed to call yourself a superhero, or do you have to have someone else do it for you? I'm not sure.
I think you can. After that, you might be able to.
Sure.
He did it. Nobody said no.
I'll give it to him. Yeah,
Nobody
I agree.
said no. So early wards, just to the red, a good bit of damage here. Just shows that Doublelift may stay towards the mid lane. We'll have to see if Chowster and him decide to stay here.
Yeah, CLG wasn't showing too much fear from TSM, aside from saying, yeah, you guys have a lot more people than us. We're going to keep at bay. But they tried to get as much poke down as possible. You can see X Special took a good chunk of damage. And at least CLG has a better idea of exactly where the ward is going to be placed by TSM. And it gave CLG the safety of going and warding TSM's red side of the jungle. So as far as that level 1 ward fest went, CLG burned more wards for about the same amount of knowledge. So not really much being decided there.
Still quite CLG-esque if they do this one. Reminds me of that hot shot going in the bottom lane with a Malphite or something, taking the blue buff for himself and just having a heyday down there. Don't think Neon's going to need blue on Aurelia. But.
We haven't seen that happen in actually quite a while with the solo laner taking blue buff, specifically because they're getting dove so much. They're just like, why would I want to give a debuff to the team that dives me in the first place? And
right away.
Neon actually might be trying to harass double golems while Big Fat OP's doing this red.
And CLG has put a lot of focus on the red of TeamSoloMid at this point as well. So we'll have to see how they react to this. Down top and bottom in the end, just giving a little bit of harass. X Special's not. Yeah, they're fine. they're going to be able to make the one out.
I'm not really sure what he was planning on doing there, because he's not going to dive in and steal a double golem and then expect to live from that. He's going to get a little bit zoned here, as most 1v2 laners do, until the creep wave arrives at his turret. Specifically being a melee champion, he doesn't have a chance to farm here unless either Big Fat LP goes and helps him or the wave gets to his turret.
And it looks like Link is playing for pure aggression in the mid lane, a Q and an E level right off the bat, so he can just walk at Reginald and auto-attack him.
Yeah, people underestimate how strong Orianna is if she just keeps the ball on her head and just attacks you. The stacking magic damage from her passive stacks up fast and makes her one of the best early game traders in the game.
Where you can see Reginald taking that in consideration, quite far off and not really even trying to harass back. They know there isn't going to be too much fighting in this lane, so they're saving that for their junglers to come and assist. Right now, looks like that is going to be in the bottom lane for Big Fat, and accordingly, Odd One to head to the top lane.
Yeah, so Nien still hasn't been able to look to get a creep because the wave just now getting to his turret, and this would be the typical time where you'd be worried about a tower dive, which is, of course, why Big Fat LP has made his way over. We know his objective in the jungle is to just help his solo lanes, and they're actually just sharing XP at the turret here, because if Nien was there alone, he would die.
And it's something that we have been seeing a lot, is that the long range damage has been in the top lane. Somebody with range, just in general, not long range. But now with these melees, you can see how much it's affecting that CS that you were talking about. So even more so for these guys to go through the late game. They're just prepared for it. Yeah,
I could say these two teams are mirroring each other quite equally right here. Supports buddying up with the top laners, essentially creating 2-1-2 lane scenarios. The jungle only existed so much as to get the early double buffs and then left the jungle up. You can see every small camp in the jungle is alive right now because the jungler's only place is next to that turret.
Big Fat going back quite quickly to pick up his stone. It looks like he's going to go back to lane to just throw Qs out and help Nien at this turret and soak up some of the experience. Still that pressure you can see on your mini-map in middle. Reginald just right by his turret the whole time.
Yeah, I guess we should focus a little bit on what's happening mid lane, because this is the only lane that's in a balanced state. All the other 2v2 lanes are, you know, AD carrying support. They're probably better than the Bruiser and the other guy. So these guys are completely untouched. They're isolated in mid lane, so to speak. And as you said, Link with the aggressive early build is already 10 minions up on Reginald, so he's doing a fantastic job as usual.
And he is actually trying to max out that ball movement. So with a little bit of shield, he wants to keep the harass up instead of just completely chunking and killing Reginald out of lane. So still making sure he's there. He doesn't want Reginald to leave the lane.
And that's how Orianna tries to kill people in lane. She doesn't actually burst them necessarily. Her full combo can do a little over half of someone's health. So you have to wear them down first and set them up for the threat. That's why he's leaving that ball just kind of out there, as much harass as possible as he can get, so he can threaten Reginald back and make sure Reginald can't roam to the other lanes once he hits 6.
Let's see what these Bash brothers can do together. It looks like they may back, or they may try to make some moves here together. They both leave the top lane. We'll figure out where they go as we see now in the bottom. TSM Special and crew trying to keep them at the turret. So with the vision of Big Fat, maybe we just get some experience soak up here at Wolves. Oh, that's nice of them.
They're just sharing and caring. They love each other. They're brothers.
That's great.
Yeah, but really, surprisingly, when you share XP in lane, you get the 33% like bonus. It might be 39% bonus, but in the jungle, that doesn't exist. They're splitting it 50-50. No extra experience is being created when they do that, but they weren't going to be doing anything in the lane anyway because they're waiting for it to push back to the turret.
And you know, one of the things that Dyrus talks about frequently now after he comes back from All-Stars is knowing at the capacity or the level that these players play at, being a few steps behind, and even if that's minions or a kill and a gank in your lane, you are probably going to lose. You're not going to be able to come back from that. So taking every chance he can to soak that up, and then his lane was at the turret. He's really taking everything into consideration. And
one thing that's making this game look like TSM is out-farming CLG more than they are, I always forget about it until I'm like, wait a minute, oh yeah, the Twisted Fate passive. 2 extra gold in every last hit, and Nien goes in.
Great exhaust, Special right there. He is good. No, he went back to the fight. Special keep turning. The Glitter Lance goes down. That's 8-0. Speed slow, the 80%, but it's not going to be enough. They attack, trying to get that Heat 10 out, and the damage won't be enough. Great job to pick up the first kill.
That's the thing that AD carry support has to be afraid of when they're against a double melee lane like that, is the potential all-in. Wild Turtleneck Special got so close to the turret, and since Nien and Big Fat LP had both just hit level 5, they decided to go because they thought their skills would be superior in a team fight. Because they closed, they were able to find the fight. I wouldn't be too surprised if Dyrus and the Odd One tried something similar fairly quickly.
You have to consider that happening, that the 2v1 in the bottom lane has the upper hand. The Odd One is only soaking up this experience, so they are behind on that play. this push into the turret. We'll have to see how Doublelift and Chowster react, and they are staying back.
So Thresh Ezreal is actually a safer lane than Lulu Caitlyn against two people because Thresh can just stay worlds back in case Doublelift gets jumped on and then just lantern him to safety. So them being pushed up is actually a lower threat than what TSM was in the bottom lane.
And obviously it's Nasus and Renekton, but there's been a lot more plays from Chowster's Thresh. We're seeing it be just more confident play. His hooks, they haven't been coming out because he's waiting to leak and land one. There's definitely more chances that hurt Chowster in his beginning Thresh play than he makes now.
Yeah, a lot of the threat of any hook champion is in not using it.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you know that it's been used, the cooldown's down, and you can go wherever you want. There's no more juking, there's no more mind games. You just get to play completely unhindered. But if he's not using it, TSM always has to worry about it, and it does keep them scared and juking back and forth at all times.
All right, we'll see these lanes. Who's winning now? What's going on? We have a 70-54 on that mid lane, so you can see how much pressure Link himself has been putting there. The junglers aren't interfering.
No, he's doing a fantastic job against Reginald, and you can see Reginald's really just trying to itemize for the ganks. He's got a blue buff, he's got the Sheen for the added little bit of burst on his first auto attack once he lands with the card, and he's just kind of hoping to survive until he can go help out his other lanes, which is kind of what he's doing. Being down 16 minions is not that bad.
No, the flask shows that he's going to sit there and lane quite a while and throw out his wild cards. Still looking for core items to come around. We have BF swords going out into both of the 80 carries, only 10 CS up there for Doublelift, so not too much of a discrepancy between them.
And this bottom lane here, we have to keep in mind how low Nien's farm actually is. It was just now hitting 20 at 9 minutes. A lot of people like to keep pace of about 10 CS per minute. Not even close right now. And the Odd One and Dyrus were doing a much better job farming than Nien and Big Fat LP, even if they didn't get the kill.
And it's not exactly a low CS game around the map. We have our 80s coming up for the 80 carries, and those solo lanes, good pressure here. Wild Turtle keeping the harass on.
X Special is definitely trying to bait CLG into a fight there because the Odd One has patiently been waiting in the brush down there for a while, but CLG knows something's up because why wouldn't the Odd One be defending the top turret where Doublelift and Chowster are pushing? Odd One was on top of ward as well. It's just covering it up for me, and now he just decides to push the turret.
Odd One finally, coming down here. I was going to say it's interesting the Spirit Fire lane got pushed slower than that Nocturne lane, but having the Dustbringer, having the Spirit Stone, and being able to help Nien on that lane has thwarted TSM getting the first early turret.
Oh, look at Dyrus!
Beautiful flash by Dyrus, throwing on the ultimate to stay alive as well.
And this has been an extremely extended 2v1 laning phase because of how long the junglers sat in the 2v1 lanes to make them 2v2. Looks like we'll be seeing the first turrets going down on both sides right after one another, 10 minutes in. This usually happens around 6 minutes, Riv.
It's even happened around 4, so you can just see how much they are really stalemating this. Will they go after Dragon? This is a bit risky, but there are two top.
Nasus kills the Dragon faster than any other jungle post 6, and because we're 10 minutes in, the damage overall from TSM is much higher. But we know how well Big Fat LP steals if he wants to try.
He hasn't even needed help yet. One shot from Wild Turtle, so that Nasus ultimate shredding down the objectives. 10 minutes in, a Dragon and that turret, so TSM definitely grabbed the upper hand on that.
1,000 gold lead, pretty much all taken by the 975 that the Dragon is able to give you. But they know that the Odd One's team fight is down, and they know they burned Dyrus' ultimate in the top lane as well. It's just difficult for CLG to find a team fight because this is an extremely extended laning phase.
Nien has his one kill so far. He did it on Elise, and he can for sure do it on Aurelia if he did it from from champion to champion now. 11.5 minutes in, that 1,000 gold lead is going to stick with no pressure so far. Everybody's trying to figure out with that turret down, where's the movement going? It looks like the 80 carries will not return mid. They go to the downed lanes. They
may just decide that the lanes they push down were kind of okay, but now we do see Doublelift staying in the same lane as Wild Turtle, so we could see the 2v2. This is a more dangerous 2v2, obviously, for Doublelift and Chowster because there's no turret backing them up. And if Reginald runs into a spot in the jungle where he can just TP in behind him, they're going to be in a whole heap load of trouble.
CLG says team fight. They have to break this laning phase at some point. Get that Orianna ball, get that initiation going in with Nien and Big Fat and the dive buddies. Right now, TSM is having it their way and really just going to start farming these lanes up.
And based on the pace of this game, it's CLG style. They love extended laning phases. They love it when Doublelift and Link can farm. But for TSM, they're just waiting for Reginald to go and make a play. They're winning the game if we look at the gold, but they're not winning the game in their way, which I think is disconcerting for TSM.
And obviously Doublelift can carry his way through on that Ezreal. But it almost looks like with the build he's going for, that blue build, the Iceborne Gauntlet, the chase for Big Fat, the chase for Nian, again, he's kind of put in a utility position for CLG instead of that carry.
Yeah, the interesting thing about Doublelift's version of Blue Ezreal is he does Bloodthirster instead of either a Manamune Rush or a Spirit of the Lizard Elder, which is a slower progression to the max item choice. It takes an extra 1,500 or 1,000 gold to get to that point, and it just means that this extended laning phase is very beneficial to him right now. And the longer they can keep it going before he can hit his full blue item Ezreal stack is great.
We'll have to see what he can do. We've seen the AD carries just in lane so far. We have Big Fat, or rather Link, coming back from spawn right now. The Athene's finished up for him. The fast Lich Bane, it looks like, coming out for Reginald. He's gone for the Rod, but he also has the Sheen, so he's kind of, depending on the way the game's going, or would he still be rushing an item?
So Reginald is still deciding where he's going. Anytime you can reach a break point for a needlessly large Rod, you're generally going to want to pick it up.
You just, hit it.
This is a quick fix for Reginald, by the way. He just had to adjust something in-game really quickly. We will be getting back into the game shortly, but I wonder if this is going to throw Reginald off at all. I remember when there was the spider in the studio. Every time something goes wrong, specifically because he is the dominant shot caller for TSM. If he's not on his game, TSM is not on their game. So hopefully for him, he's able to recover here, because this game is still completely undecided.
It was a decent pause if there were to be a rating of pauses. Nothing to really evaluate getting out of that. Everybody's quite spaced out, so it should still be...
It wasn't during a moment of conflict or anything. They're not allowed to discuss strategy.
Right.
And I'd give that pause like a B+. I don't think it...
Absolutely.
It didn't have to fill for too long.
B+ pause. Fantastic. Good damage on the turret for just its second or third meeting there. Dyrus going up on the end. He backs off, trying to get away from the damage of that ultimate, but he could surely turn this, as he knows he has the ability to do so now.
Yeah, they finally get to fight each other, and item-wise, Dyrus is definitely at an edge, but Nian thinks he can take him.
Nian going hard on this one. The Ignite has gone down. Dyrus with still a bit of ultimate, keeping him up and strong. Looks like they back out of the fight, so those two can duel each other. Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah, they're having a little bit of fun up there. They're both going full tank builds, though. You can just see there's not an offensive item between the two of them.
Slap.
There's a Doran's Blade. Hold on now. Calm down, Dyrus. You're way too offensive right now.
A little shiv in the fight.
I did want to bring up, though, an interesting stat that just popped up on the screen where Reginald, I believe, was 12, 13, and 13 in the losses against CLG, which is an impressive scoreline because even though TSM's been getting defeated, Reginald has performed very well in both of their games. It's actually been the rest of the team that he's had to try to carry through those games.
He has gone for the boots after that build, so he put an extra 700 gold into those boots before finishing up an item. Definitely staying safe from that Orianna, staying safe from that Nian chase, the Big Fat chase. There's a lot of things to consider as this team ramps up for Counterlogic Gaming.
Yeah, CLG is still yet to use the Nocturne ultimate.
Yep.
He's level 9. I wonder if he's waiting for the second rank of it so he can get longer range and a shorter cooldown. There's nothing right now forcing CLG into any action. They know that TSM has already taken the Dragon down, and they're pushing turrets at an equal pace. So unless TSM begins outpacing them in turrets or really over-dragons them, CLG's not forced to fight. And quite honestly, if CLG can keep pace in turrets, I think they're okay conceding dragons to TSM early.
Looks like this top turret will go down. Two of the best to have crushed down.
This could be the first fight, maybe.
Coming off the backside. Oh, wow, Big Fat just goes for the clear as well. Shows the Dustbringer right off the bat.
I'm crazy. This isn't the first fight. No. I guarantee you guys, though, CLG TSMs do
that
always...
clock says 15 minutes, not 50, Jat.
They always turn into something awesome. It may take a while, guys, but this is going to be good. You can already tell it's close.
Yeah.
And there's tension building.
So much tension that we want to gank. Something's got to happen soon. We got one turret on each side, so the map vision is really in no one's favor or that gold lead. It's really close of that 1,000. So no matter what's happened, like I said, it's going to slow down after the Dragon. Nobody knew what to do.
Yeah.
The AD carries went to the same lane, and they continued to farm. That's what both teams are going for here. Mid pressure is somewhat being shown, and they're finally going to act on something here. Ward's going the top side, but Dragon's coming up soon.
And this game's pace can be explained by the ridiculously slow laning phase these teams opted into. 10 minutes of 2v2 laning with melees and range, never deciding to lane swap back. Just said, all right, guys, we're going to have 2 low-impact lanes in the side lanes, and then Link, who is a fantastic farmer, but can't necessarily burst out Reginald in that mid lane, made it so they just farmed for the large majority of this early game, and they're continuing to do this because CLG's totally fine with these long laning phases, even though if it looks like they're down 1,200 gold.
This is... I have to say, or just say that these wards are for TF, right? Placed in the lane on the left side, placed all throughout the jungle, the regular spots up towards mid, just so he can't split push port.
It's a great observation. It's actually an accomplishment that CLG was able to place that many wards deep in TSM jungle without getting caught out by anything. It was actually a bigger risk getting the wards there than it is safety to be protected from Twisted Fate. But since they've gotten them there, CLG now knows anytime Reginald sneaks into one of those spots where the wards are, that's where he's going to land a Twisted Fate ultimate into a lane unspotted.
Oh, Nian has found him here. The gold card goes out. He won't choose to use Destiny. He breaks a lot of space there. It's going to be the Ghost. He will definitely catch Reggie. There's the second gold card. Goes for the Wild. It's going to be some good damage, but he has bought enough time. Odd One starts to wander over.
And they're going to try to turn this around, actually. Nian doesn't have his Ghost up anymore. This could be a lot of trouble.
Oh, Nian, that Wither on. He's trying to use the ultimate to get everything back. The ultimate coming in. Big Fat's going to get out. He gets the Thresh Express out, but it's going to be Wild Turtle on the other side. A huge chunk of damage from Command, and it looks like they get the save. Nian makes it all the way out. The box goes down. They should be able to walk right out of this one. Great safety play by CLG.
Chouster definitely coming in for the big save there, and CLG was not ready to fight that and made a strong escape covering for Nian, but now TSM might try to turn something back. I don't think this fight is over yet. Link saved his ultimate, and they might go for something big.
Oh, going right in. That Arcane Shift flash as well. Throws out the cleanse. He used the entire combo, and this is going to start getting a little bit worrisome for TeamSoloMid to get on the other side. Here. A beautiful zoning. Look where the ball is. They don't even want to get close to it. They're not even fighting right now. It's the placement of their abilities and the ability to just fight it down. The Odd One gets stuck up, and the team knows they can't assist.
So now that's the third kill, and they got rid of the Smite Steal threat from the jungler, but they're still a little scared about taking this Dragon down. Big Fat LP wanted to secure that with the Smite, as he always does, and that was a great set of moves by CLG, recovering from some potential misplays and positioning in the right way.
Continuing in onto this one, they look to go for mid, and they look to be able to take this one out. A minion wave just on their heels, and they're going to get some good damage here. They will be pushed back off of this, but it helps them really get themselves a little bit of a footing in this game.
And CLG's got to feel really in control right now. We got to consider the game they just had against Curse at the start of the day, where they were also in control, but then they let it kind of fall apart. That was a much more chaotic pace for CLG, not necessarily something we are that used to seeing. This is a retro CLG almost. Before we saw the new Nian in the top lane and Big Fat in the jungle, they are very controlled, but it's working for them.
Oh, a little bit too clear, or too fast of a clear on that Spirit Fire, but Nian looks to, in one more wave, get this down. Odd One's going to do the best that he can to stop that from happening. Wards in mid lane, also keeping track of where Reginald and team are roaming right now, and something CLG is not putting to the wayside is the amount of wards they're putting down, as most of them all die, so I look like a liar.
Yeah, and that means that Reginald could potentially get some decent ultimates off, but with the way the laning phase has broken down a little bit, he's not as free to do so. Like with Nian now having the Sunfire cape, and he's the one split pushing. That's not something, as we've seen, Reginald can close on and kill by himself. That was what his last ultimate was used on, and it didn't result in anything strong for TSM, despite Nian not even having Ghost alive. So CLG's split pushing in a very smart way.
Playing this one safe, especially in Nian. He's got himself 2 kills. The only person that has kills is Doublelift, and they've been in the fights. Nian is still down that 40 CS he was before, but the team is making up for it. Link has that to himself, as well as Doublelift. He's about 30-40 CS too, or 30 CS, exactly.
Exactly. Nian is even in gold with Dyrus. I mean, he's about 500, 180 behind. Math is hard when they're not lined up just right for me, but that's the CS difference between those two. And Doublelift is definitely starting to outpace as he usually does. 205 minion kills by 20 minutes, keeping pace with his standard of 10 CS per minute.
Looks like they will get this bottom turret out. You can see the top rotation in. Once that mid turret is down, it's a lot more entry and places to get into the jungle. But it looks like CLG will stop. They say, we got this focused on the bottom. Let's get the tri-push going on.
And actually, if TSM can force a team fight here, which is very difficult since CLG is all spread out, if they can at least force a skirmish on Doublelift, Doublelift is at a weak point right now. Look at all the mana he's just built in his build right now. He's not getting any multipliers for that. Until he completes a Mura mana or something, his giant mana pool of 2,000 isn't giving him the extra damage that he would be getting from the Mura mana. So he's just farming it out using that mana right now, and TSM is letting him do it.
See the pings going around. They finally dropped that bottom turret, so we may see them start to hug up towards mid and get a final push on that second tier. With the split push going on the top lane, Reginald really hasn't been able to do much because I guess he feels Nien can jump on him again. With that ghost, it doesn't allow Reggie to go for the split push, so it's always been Dyrus, and Destiny's kind of just being there as a full map clairvoyance.
And also, Link did a great job against Reginald, keeping him pushed back for the majority of the game. And without a middle turret for Twisted Fate as well, it's much harder for him to find spots in the jungle where he can go in for an initiation. But this is a TSM initiation. They're flanking in.
He has the Zanyas. He locks it down and throws it in. The Thresh Hook misses. They tried to land that perfectly. Here goes the paranoia on the team. Box goes down. Dyrus still trying to initiate. This has been TeamSoloMid continuously trying to catch up, but they've had the follow-up damage they were looking for and still keep CLG on the backside.
That was a brilliant collapse in by TSM and an even better timing on the Zanya's Hourglass from Reginald. The Orianna ultimate hit the Zanyas, which meant it didn't do anything. It allows TSM to put in a strong counter push.
Looks like they get this second turret in the mid coming off of CLG. They may be pushed off here. The minion wave quickly thrown away. And we're going to see Dyrus coming up big in that fight on Renekton, really initiating for the team.
Really, he was the one where he made it look like trouble. He made it look like trouble because Reginald got CLG thinking about fighting. There's like, oh crap, there's a giant Renekton here. And this push just continues on.
That is a perfect grab, but nobody can go on it. Chaucer puts himself off to the side. TSM didn't even worry about that.
They were there for the turret, and they've equalized the turret game right now. So very strong push there. You can see they had the Aegis for that fight as well, even though it wasn't necessarily about CLG fighting back. And Big Fat LP still hasn't gotten there for his item breakpoints, but that evens the game for both these teams.
Reginald proves me wrong with his full map clairvoyance and uses it to start off a pretty damn good fight there as he just comes out of base.
It took him 23 minutes, but he got one.
Absolutely. That's, like you said, a credit to Link being so putting on so much pressure in mid and really stopping that press 6 composition at 6 for these guys. Still with that dragon in their favor and pushing down quite hard in mid, 32,000 to 31,700, so not too far off at 400 gold there on the mix.
And I can see, since Doublelift's completed his Iceborne Gauntlets before his Muramana on Ezreal, he's actually currently more about utility than he is damage. So CLG is still looking to fully disengage when possible, even without that Iceborne Gauntlets, and even with the great initiation for TSM. TSM got 1 kill, but 2 turrets, because CLG was taken very low. But that tells me CLG already has very strong disengage. And with the Iceborne Gauntlets, it may be stronger, so the next time TSM engages, they might not get CLG low enough to even take a turret.
And that's what TSM is, that Reginald said they've been working on. We want to make sure we can do things after a fight. They were able to that time. But like you said, it's going to get a bit more tough. We got Dragon coming up live and both teams converging. And
I would be a little surprised if CLG fights this, knowing Aurelia's ultimate is down and knowing the Dragon is essentially gone right now. CLG would have to go into a fight with no Dragon to be contested.
They get close enough. Big Fat throws it down. Nien gets on the backside. That crowd control coming up from the passive, and he's going to be able to break it quite quickly. True Shot Barrage hitting through. Reginald goes down. The crowd control of the fight is a bit away now. Dyrus has to focus around as they mitigate a bit of the damage. Wild Turtle at 100% health, now putting himself in the fight. Shots to the backside on Link, ace in the hole. Gets around the shoulder of Dyrus, and he does get the kill there. A 2-for-1 so far in favor of TSM.
And CLG was not prepared for that fight. They went in far earlier. There was no Nien ultimate down for the AoE in that fight because he just used it to clear the wave, and that's the exact fight TSM wants. They got the fight inside the Renekton and Nasus ultimates, and they just went to town on CLG there, shredding down CLG's tank line and just mowing through the rest of them.
The Bash brothers bash, but they also peel so well. Wild Turtle coming into that fight with so much HP, and CLG knew they had to run, and they'll have to focus a little bit better coming up in these fights. Doublelift gets away, so he secures that blue. He's going to be good with that. They're going to start pushing this mid lane still. So at least they get the lanes pushed, they can have a little time to breathe.
And I actually missed where the Orianna ultimate from Link went off in that fight. It was either on top of one of the divers during the Lulu ult and just kind of was lost in all the knockups, or because the divers were so far ahead of him, it would have popped back and he may have used it on himself. That'll be very key to go into the next fight. I will go back and check that, and I'll get back to you in a second, Ruth.
So 2 items coming out here, one to mitigate and one to really just counter what's happening. That Sunfire Cape just throwing out more damage, obviously, as you burn gracefully. And the Randuins quickly rushed in from Dyrus. Yeah, you have Big Fat on Nocturne and Nien coming in on Aurelia, but they're both completely shut down as soon as that Randuin hits.
And the item builds are generally smart for Dyrus, as he usually does. He's full tank in this one because he knows they have damage support from Wild Turtle in the back.
We'll see what they can do. They pressure the top lane. We'll see how Nian reacts to this one. It's going to be Dyrus coming off on the side, so they just show power in numbers. And look, Dyrus was trying to, like, can they see me yet? Maybe we can dive this. But they definitely saw him off to the side. They play it face to face.
But now the damaging build from Doublelift is back, and he has double buffs. CLG might look for a fight here, and TSM's going to be feeling overconfident. I also checked back, and Link's ultimate did land on TSM during the CLG dive, so that was actually an even more one-sided fight considering the Orianna ult land as planned. CLG still is trying to fight here, though.
Doublelift doing what he can to harass, seeing if they can get that Iceborne Gauntlet to catch at least one person out. The thing they're missing, though, is a 100-0 person that can assassinate. A Zed, a Kha'Zix, somebody that can dive in there. They have the damage, but it's going to take a few abilities from each champion, and they might not have the time to make those fights happen right now against this team.
Both of these teams are actually going to end up fighting a little slow.
Yeah.
Just because Nasus and Renekton are such tanks when
you
they're in the fight.
You don't have the assassin anywhere.
And the kite from CLG is also extremely high right now, so there's an ultimate coming down into the end.
Reggie accidentally Zanya's just before, but he still decides to go in.
Can he get the
With
lantern?
it down, they hit it on. No, he gets it out. The Ignite's going down, but they get the shield on as that wears off. It looks like they could continue.
Here's the turn.
Big Fat goes in on the Wild Turtle. He makes sure that damage can't be in the back line of the fight, but they can't get to him. The gap close isn't there. Ace in the hole goes on cooldown as Dyrus picks up the kill. Wild Turtle forced the barrier, but they are in safe position right now. From the back line, more gold cards. The Wild cards come out. The Ace in the hole cooldown comes up. Link does not go down this time. They look to get retribution for their teammates. They continue the kills, and they continue to get 2 more.
And we knew that CLG wanted to fight here while the double buffs were still active on Doublelift, but the fight came anyway from TSM, and that's exactly how CLG wanted to be initiated on. I wonder if Doublelift guesses the right bush. He's trying other places. Can they get one away?
Oh,
he got him!
Turtle, they get him. Oh, Special wasn't there. He was at 7 seconds, and they had enough time to take him out. It's the Ace overall.
Delayed ace right there, and can CLG have enough punch to go for this dragon? TSM's pinging it because they think it's a threat, and this is a very risky call. Second guessing themselves here. That's the safe play.
They're playing the Dignitas way. Don't say the B word.
Don't say the B word.
Don't say the B word.
Too dangerous.
Make it out. We still have Nian now going to the bottom lane. They want to get these lanes past the river. As close as they are to the turrets, it's very scary for them to be there after a fight. Either of these teams we just saw have the ability to push after a fight. Right there, CLG playing it safe and going back after that one, though.
I think overall, CLG has much more control of extended fights because we've seen multiple times where TSM has won the fight by quite a bit and gotten 1, maybe 2 kills. And then they go and take an objective afterwards, which is good on them. But that was the first fight we've seen CLG really win, and once the tides turned, they got 5 kills. They chased down everyone. So even though these fights are very close, CLG can get more out of a one-team fight because their after-fight chase potential is so much greater.
Coming up onto the turret. Looks like they may be able to crush this down quite fast. That is going to help them in the global gold spectrum and actually just even out the gold. It's really 200 deficit on towards TSM. 4-4 in turrets is the turrets just going back and forth.
And we were mentioning about 15 minutes ago, Riv, these games are going to ramp up and it's going to be awesome. And it's turned into that because CLG TSM always delivers close matches. Somehow these teams always play each other close. And now the ultimates are being traded. TSM trying to make a play right up mid.
They are dictating where this party is going to go right now. And they say it's all the way to your house. CLG is going to be able to stop them halfway down the driveway and almost push them back there. We can see the respect that TSM is giving to that full 5 of CLG. And on the flip side, these teams know, like you said, it could be big after this next fight.
And Link's ultimate is hurting more and more. We said Orianna wasn't a burster early, but if he gets up around 400 or 500 ability power, let me tell you, he can burst. So right now he's at 405, and every time he puts that ball on top of Big Fat LP, it's a threat to kill Wild Turtle, because Wild Turtle doesn't generally build defensive items, and he needs to be able to be around to clean up these team fights. It was our featured matchup, Doublelift versus Wild Turtle. We might see a fight here because Nian presented himself.
Nian gets a lot of cooldowns right there. They get him back into the box. Dyrus gets locked down. Whoa, they're going right onto Dyrus. He gets himself out,
peel.
And he has taken almost all the damage necessary. Doublelift on the backside, gets gold carded, instantly cleansed off, almost takes down Reginald. The entire team starting to close down now as they gain positioning on the fight. The Iceborne hitting up Big Special, locks down. The Shurelius comes from him, but here's Reginald again.
Look at the chase.
They can still chase this down. This is the team they've been creating to synergize with. The chase on the Iceborne Gauntlet. Is it going to be enough? The shield going down, and they just multiply in deaths. A double kill coming in for Wild Turtle. An ace overall, and somehow 3 people of CLG are alive.
And as we saw again, as soon as the tide started the turn for CLG, they could chase down everybody on TSM. The speed that Link provides and the aggressive chase that Doublelift had with those Iceborne Gauntlets just crushed the rest of TSM. The start of that fight was all about just getting rid of the Bash Brothers, really. They didn't let TSM come into them, and then they took out the rest of them.
31-30 into the game, 14-6, Jat. I think it just ramped up a little bit more. 48,000. That gold was 200 for a deficit in the TSM's way. Now it's 4,000 gold. They got some work to do.
That is a lot more gold than TSM is comfortable having against TSM. Well, against CLG. 13,500 gold on Doublelift. That's 13,000 gold is the break point to hit those 5 items, not counting the Brutalizer Doublelift just built, that make that Ezreal really tick. He's going to be able to infinitely kite the odd one in a team fight if he wants to. And then if he gets rid of the front line, he can chase down the TSM backline. So if TSM wants to come back into this, Reginald actually has to find a way onto Doublelift, and they have to get rid of him somehow. Otherwise, he's going to outmaneuver and outposition TSM because CLG's put so much farm into Doublelift, and he is so comfortable and good on this blue Ezreal build that he is unstoppable at this point.
The fights for CLG are just surmounting so much in their favor. That was a needlessly large rod in Link's hands just a few seconds ago. Past the Seeker's arm guard, give me the full Zanyas for me to bring out. So these guys are completing items a lot faster than they've expected, and they know their fight potential is growing immensely.
And I'm not sure how TSM plans to get around CLG right now because their jungle is warded, and Dyrus just can't seem to get to Doublelift. They do land a gold card. There they go!
Here it is, Dyrus again into the middle of the fight. The growth goes off instantly. The box is down. Where's that follow-up once again? They stop. They can synergize with the fight and also the disengage.
They got Doublelift very low, and they may try to continue this chase.
He flashes the slice and dice. Cole the Meek takes down Doublelift. It's exactly what they wanted. A double kill for Dyrus. Shock wave on 4 champions. TSM is stopped in the engage.
But without Doublelift, after they got everybody low, CLG can't continue the chase. That was the perfect fight for TSM. They got Doublelift stunned multiple times while his cleanse was down. That is not going to be something that Doublelift and CLG let happen again. So TSM has to capitalize off that, but they're getting caught.
Dividing, doing the command dissonance, giving the speed out. The Wither goes down. They try to pinch in from both sides on a pincer move, but with Reginald down, TSM is playing very cautious right now, and Turtle has to stop these super minion.
It's a tall task. We know how hard the minions fight TSM sometimes. Luckily, there's only one inhibitor with the minions. Totally manageable here for Wild Turtle. He's actually going to use this to try to power up a little bit because even though Doublelift is nearing his 6th item, Wild Turtle's not there yet because even though the blue build takes a long time to ramp up to ultimate effectiveness, it doesn't get as powerful as a 6-item standard AD carry. So if Wild Turtle can actually get this around 50 minutes, he might start coming back around and outpacing Doublelift. So we got a lot of game left if TSM's to win this one.
And both of these teams still seem to be playing with level heads. All the engagements have really been at the right point, the right time. TSM, we just saw them with a very stable engagement off of a CLG ace, so they know this is getting tight, and they may be going for Baron.
And Reginald is racing back up towards the Baron there. He was just farming bot lane, but CLG is not trying to kill this Baron. They might actually just hope they could sneak it, and they're still looking for a kite fight.
They aren't taking too much damage off that Baron either, so they have more than enough time to play around here. And CLG again. These guys are just going to stare face to face before this fight goes off.
Maybe they're hoping that the Odd One and Dyrus run into them, but they are taking some damage from Baron. Surprisingly, they're not taking much damage from Baron. The Thresh Shields are doing a very good job. Chouster Hook Dyrus, no, don't go in. And they're being a little bit dancy here.
Both of these teams know how scary it is right now. Who is going to get the first initiation? I don't think it's going to be a mistake. It is just going to be an all-out move. Dyrus on the outside. The gauntlet hitting. They can get good poke here. Dyrus taking a few chunks of damage.
CLG got the turret down where they lost their previous fight 2-1. But they might be looking for a fight anywhere here. Nien just jumps in.
Nien dives in. Reginald forced to flash. Paranoia goes down, so they can't really see what the engagement is. They know they forced that. CLG is completely winning the engagement. That's not happening.
They're just going straight for the turret, and they're forcing TSM in to fight them, but CLG is so confident in their mobility, they're going for the inhibitor now.
That's your base. Get back in the base and guard it. They just let that go
Reggie's
down.
out of mana.
Reggie comes back in again. The Zanyas is there, but he has no flash. It's only a few more attacks, and it comes back with the command safeguard. They continue to go into the fight. CLG looks like they have the HP upper hand. They continue in. The shockwave onto Odd One as well as Dyrus. They continue to go in. Dyrus out of the fight now. Odd One with a sliver of health goes down to double lift. The Nexus turrets are in the eyes of CLG.
There is still Wild Turtle and Dyrus alive, and they home guard booted back out of their base. CLG might be going for rush, but this is a dangerous push.
Dyrus does have the capability to stop these minions. Last time it was that scary moment with the cannon, but the Call of the Meek swinging around, slice and dice. They clear it out. They already have their base back, but if CLG can dictate fights like that, this is a grim future for TSM.
That was an amazing strategic call by CLG there. They just got the inhibitor in the chess match and then fought TSM when Reggie was out of mana. They overpoked for so long that they just turned at the right moment, got 2 inhibitors for their trouble and 2 kills, and then just escaped before the Baron went down. Amazing play here, and TSM is now forced into panic maneuvers. They are trying Baron without oracles on top of a ward, and we know how trying to take Baron from Big Fat LP works for most teams.
Destiny is up so he can make it to the Baron pit. They have vision now of the team. Big Fat on the outside. Paranoia is back up from the last engagement. Looks like they're going to be able to thwart this one off, but they say, let's refight this. They're going to stand right there. Oh my gosh, Reginald taking a huge chunk.
They might just chase him down. If he would have landed that game, they're going to get him anyway.
They know Reginald was there, but he throws on the Zanyas. They say, maybe we can bait this. It may have been a little too soon without the movement of the rest of TSM there. Chowster in the front, double lift on the backside in the perfect positioning for CLG here. Nien is wreaking havoc on the back line. He's no longer killable, and it's going to be TeamSoloMid going down.
And just like last time, the minions are knocking down TSM's base. They've already taken 1 Nexus turret, and CLG looks to push through for the finish.
History repeats itself once again for CLG. TeamSoloMid, go for the surrender button.
They recognized it was over there. 38 minutes. The last 20 minutes of that game were so fast-paced.